So can I call this regular council meeting of 2014-03-11 to order? And a motion for approval of the agenda.
No.
Moved by Councilor Leafwood, second by Councilor Lang. Discussion, all in favor? Motion passes. And adoption of the minutes. Do you want to do this by the block or individually? Moved by Councilor Holland for a block. Seconded by Councilor Hewitt. Discussion, all in favor? Motion passes. And the delegation. Janice Murphy, who's been here before, so she knows the rules.
Fast and chocolate bars.
Yeah.
And back one more time, it's not
Okay.
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 Here to ask for council support for another application to the BC Healthy Community Society. This is the Stream 2, the Innovative Grant. Last week I was here for Stream 1, that was about seniors. This one's about food security. We spoke to BC Healthy Communities and they supported us putting in another application. And we're building upon the food value chain work that we've been doing, and the food forum, which is coming up on April 12th, will be a precursor month to submit the report for that before we can be considered for this. And it is for a farm apprenticeship program. And so this has been identified in the Project Comeback work and in the food value chain work and in the work at the food security program. So we're asking for funding to develop a curriculum for a farm apprenticeship. The purpose is to farmers locally identify that they don't have skilled labor. There's youth in the Project Comeback who said they want to farm. There's people who aren't employed, so this would be an opportunity to provide some apprenticeship and training, have some skilled labor available for farmers. We do need to do further funding, sourcing to get some wage subsidies for the apprentices. This grant would pay for the development of the curriculum, the supervision, the support of the apprentices, and I've had some also support from our local community health coordinators, interior health, that they would be, engaged in helping us with the development of the curriculum and what we're doing. And we've had some talk with Celtic College too. So this is an application that's going to have to go by us Friday. And I have a revised draft will be in Neil's box by the end of tonight. That's it, pretty much. I'm asking for the council to, what am I asking for, Neil?
You're asking for the village to submit the application as presented.
Yes.
I'll move that.
Moved by Councilor Leafwood. Second by Councilor Lang. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Done.
Excellent. I had one more question about this actually, that changed your approval, but they recommended that, is there a counselor? I know that we were going to have the SEDS committee, and this was taken to the SEDS committee. Who sits on that here?
Amy.
Amy does, do you?
Yeah.
And the SEDS committee, was supporting this. The Carrie Wall from the Health Community said, is there a counselor who will be the champion for this? And if we could include that in here, that would be great. I mean, I put a note that the Village of Kaslo Council Sustainable Economic Development Subcommittee will be the local government contact, providing support and consultation where necessary. Maybe if there was a councillor name who would want to be a contact for Amy here for the project.
I'm not on that committee, but I would.
Okay, I wonder if it should be someone that says committee because I've listed it.
Is there a time limit?
Just the SEDS committee.
No, I mean, what do you need from the council? Is it more meetings or?
No, I think we will let the SEDS committee know how we're doing this. So if there's a council who's on the SEDS committee, that's why I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's probably the way to
Okay,
go.
then probably I'm chair, so put down the chair.
Yes, and it's just for consultation when she comes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Jimmy Holland.
Thank you. I think that's it.
I'd just like to, we have formed a health group select committee They will be applying for these funds as well in the future.
Yes.
So just, it's a possibility anyway, because, you know what our health situation is here.
And
Yeah.
we'd totally be interested in helping support you on that.
Yeah,
For sure.
just so that, did they apply for the 5,000 one?
No, they didn't have enough, they didn't feel they had enough time to put something suitable to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're in the beginning stages of this issue, and, you know, it's gonna require money for people to do the things that need to be done,
Yeah.
so just a heads up.
Yeah, no, and I understood that when Neil kind of told
Yeah.
me that the committee wasn't going for it this year, so if you want to go
Yeah.
for it. And I originally wasn't going to do the Scream 2, but when I talked to them, they said,
Yeah.
when you're doing the food forum, you know, we like to follow up.
Yeah,
So this would be a good time to put this in.
yeah. I reviewed both those applications, and the Stream 1 was pretty good. Big dollars, low amount. When I looked at Stream 2, it looked like they were going to spread that money pretty thin around the province, so, you know. But you got to try.
Yeah, so we were gonna-
Okay, well, we'll,
They were very, thought it was a strong application, so
Good.
we'll see how we make out.
okay,
But yeah, I know there's two others that are coming from like interior health or something for Stream 2, and
yeah,
so who knows how much.
who knows?
Yeah.
But good for you for trying. Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you.
okay.
Good night.
Business arising from the minutes. Report from the administrator.
Public Works remain fairly busy with managing the melting snow around residential areas, although it seems to have tapered off a bit now, and preparing for the capital works season. We have a fairly important deadline at noon tomorrow for the backhoe tender. So that'll be some interesting discussion for the Finance Committee next week. Audit update. During the annual audit process, as you're aware from the camera meetings, it's been determined that the municipality has been collecting but failing to remit to other governments a portion of funds collected from the grants or payments in lieu of taxes, the acronym PILTs, over a number of years. Given what we've determined thus far, it doesn't appear to have been an issue that the current council or its predecessors have been in any reasonable position to be aware of. The extent of the liability is not yet fully known, and I will certainly provide further information for you once more definite information is clearly established. Aerodrome online survey. At the time of writing, I said there have been 57 respondents. Since then, we're now at 107. It's a popular survey. Lots of critiques as well. As you know, it's not intended to be a website or a data collection process for a social sciences research project. It's just a basic straw poll of community perceptions around the aerodrome to better facilitate your policy discussion on March 29th at the open house. I'm going to leave the survey open until April 5th, following the open house, to capture as many responses as possible. We should still get some more coming in, and given that we've crossed the 100 response barrier, I'm going to have to pay SurveyMonkey $25 to get all the results. Because it's only free until you cross the 100 responses. For analysis, it still keeps ticking it up, but it's in general, it's a very positive experience to see that level of response to an online survey community of this size. The social science students would kill for responses to surveys of that kind of level in a geographic area this small. Anyway, the Kemble building, the geothermal units are now functioning correctly for the first time since installation. A dialer alarm system has been installed with next wind turbine for the propane system, and further upgrade work will be completed. We are now pursuing quotes and improvements to the heat circulation system. Certain parts of the building are still a little too cold. Parcel tax review panel, 3 councillors and 1 alternate must be selected to serve on the panel for resolution. Alternative suggested dates April 24th, if that's not acceptable, or the 22nd or the 23rd.
April the 24th, but is that an RDCK meeting?
No.
Okay, I'll set it down. Councillor Lane?
Yeah, well, I think I sent out last year, but what time of day was it, do you recall?
I think it's 4.
4 till, depending on
I
if
don't think anybody showed up last
Yeah,
year.
nobody showed up. They just
No.
came and sat, waited 20 minutes and left.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
but doesn't mean it can happen this year.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, you got enough?
Need an alternate as well.
I'll be the alternate, I think.
Any further second?
The councillors Lang, Hewitt and Mayor Lay, the appointees with Councillor Leafwood as the alternate.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor? Motion passes.
Okay, moving on. Community development grants. The Castle and Area Chamber of Commerce has applied for $50,000 from the municipal RDCK Community Development Grant allocation to fund an administrative assistant / economic development coordinator. This was introduced to you at a finance committee for home in the last few weeks. Current commitments from an estimated $30,000 allocation include $5,000 to the BC Rural Summit, $3,000 to support the activities of the New Health Select Committee, which will hopefully be matched by Area D funds. Sufficient funds would appear to be available based on the provisional RDCK budget. An estimated, if you did support the request, an estimated $7,000 would be left, which I would certainly be keen to see allocated for the time being toward upgrades to council chambers to maximise the audiovisual and meeting facilities for council, public and the Gemmell building tenants. We just don't know enough about what we're going to get at this point, so I'd like some money set aside for that.
Councillor Leaford?
Questions or clarification? I thought our allocation was only 24,000 or 22,000 this year.
I believe it's closer to 30.
That's not what I recall, but we'll have to have a minute subsequent.
I left my budget stuff down in the box downstairs, I'm not sure.
And the other question I have is, how much remaining do we need to do on the boat launch? I mean, I think that the chamber initiative is good, but I do think that there are some things that we started that we should finish.
The boat launch is budgeted for. It's not a huge amount of money that's budgeted towards the boat launch for this year to finish it off because most of the materials have been purchased. The more significant optional expenditure you're still looking at budget that is the second part of the public wharf project, which I believe is roughly a $20,000 expenditure.
Councillor Lane?
Would the wharf be, would gas tax funds be available for the wharf?
Until we know more about the new criteria, that would be a stretch.
Right. Well, I kept a pretty close eye on that dock last summer, and most of the time there were spots available on the existing wharf, so I don't know how critical it is, and maybe what could be done is if we could add pieces incrementally rather than spend 30,000, spend 5 or 6 or something, and just incrementally add to what's there.
Yeah, I'm expecting to hear from MP Wilkes about specifically the date that the changes will be ratified. Now, what I haven't done is contacted UBCM. They may know more than I know, but he assured me that May was the date when the change would occur. In his mind, but he's back in Ottawa, and I had a couple of emails from him, and he hadn't got to that particular issue yet. But the other thing is, if it is, I would regard that as infrastructure, right? You know, so that might even come under the Build Canada, but then that's, you know, sharing. And the problem with that is you can't use two government funds to share. In other words, you use one or the other, but you can't leverage it from one. That's my understanding. Is that your understanding too?
Gas tax is an awkward one, but yes, they kind of frown on the federal national gas tax.
Yeah. But anyway, so there is, some options there. And did Glennie cost out incrementally, like every time you add a couple of things, or
What did we spend last year?
Around 22, I think.
4 sections or 5? I think they're around 5,000 a piece. So, like I say, even if we bought one this year, I think it'd be fine. Or if we can't afford any of them, I don't think it's the end of the world. It's my-
anyway, so the motion was,
There wasn't, there's no motion.
Well, basically, I'm recommending that you determine the decision with respect to the chamber request. But these aren't time sensitive. You can use these funds, you can access or approve these funds 10 times throughout the year, that's my understanding. But if you were, I would appreciate your considering setting some of that money aside for this space to ensure we get the most out of our high speed.
So can I ask a question before I jump in? We're still in a position overall to be strongly considering moving the municipal offices back into the other building within, say, 5 years, maybe?
Yes, assuming we are awarded certain.
So big significant investments in this building around developing a conference center, a video conference center. This stuff would basically be, number one, I'm asking, would this stuff be mobile particularly? I mean, it could be relocated. And number two, is there space over there for us to do something like that?
Well, not as much space as you have in this area here, for sure. The Campbell building, as it's now a municipal asset, has to be used for, the courtroom space has to be used for something. So I think even if council were to relocate offices back to the City Hall, these spaces would still be amenities for the public. I'm not sure whether we would be, depending on what we're provided by the Columbia Basin people. It could be mobile equipment, then again it might not. It really depends whether it's something that's ceiling mounted, wall mounted, or something that you can move around different rooms.
Well, I guess it's a larger discussion about what land in these spaces, but I was always under the impression that this would become space available for revenue generation, not necessarily just public access. Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that council allocates $5,000 for the Regional District Community Development Grant Fund to the council chamber broadband upgrade project.
second by Councilor Leaflet. Discussion. Councilor Knight?
I just like to ask Councilor Holland why he reduced the amount by 2,000.
We're being tight. Not going to give staff the whole banana. No other reason than 5,000 seems like a round number. There is going to be, I'm anticipating we're still going to have some surplus funds sitting in the community development after today. We could always go back to the well if we need to. But at this point, I think locking up 5,000 is fairly prudent. And as we get more information later on, like I said, we could go back to the well again if we have to. I'm just trying to be a little prudent on expenditure.
Any further discussion? Call the question on that motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. So you wanted a decision on the chamber, is that correct?
It was simply you can defer it further if you wish. It was basically the next logical step after the presentation to the chamber if you were going to discuss this request further.
I'm prepared to make a motion that we defer the discussion of this grant to the Finance Committee to hold April 15th.
Seconded? Did you second it?
Once.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I saw your
Second
finger
for
go.
discussion.
You didn't bring your hands with you
Okay,
this time.
sorry, yeah.
Oh, just let it line. I'm totally good with that.
Oh, second for discussion.
Okay,
I just thought that the chamber had indicated that they did want an answer fairly quickly, as they were applying for other funding as well, or they kind of needed to know where they were at. So if we send it to finance on April 15th, then we can make a, can we make a motion that finance?
You can make a recommendation.
Still recommending.
You still have a day to make the finance meeting for next week.
Councillor Lang.
Well, I think we should go ahead and allocate the funding, but I would also like to sit down with some representatives of the chamber and get a little more meat on the bone, just to see exactly what services are going to be provided, and if there's anything that we as a council think would benefit by having included in their facility, whether it be documents that we have on file, you know, studies that have been done in the past, whatever. Just a little bit of a, not that we would, there's no strings attached, it's just I'd like to have that discussion and to see where, you know, so I have a clearer understanding of what the benefit
Yeah,
is.
I want to encourage this conversation, but I'm just going to kind of do a point of order. Right now we're debating a recommendation to defer to April 15th, so you can speak against stagnant, then we'll carry on, because we'll end up spinning off and going on.
Okay.
It's just my time.
Are we ready for the question?
Sorry, sorry.
Councillor Booth?
Could I ask, in the meantime, could you ask Public Works Foreman if there is a certain amount we still need for the public, for the launch? And that way we can have the information for the April 15th.
Well,
Councillor Hall?
yeah, so I'm a little bit confused now. I wasn't really aware that the chamber wanted a quick answer on this. That what you're sort of indicating, I want to know something very quick, much quicker, which makes me think that I would vote against my resolution at this point, because it sounds like they're wanting a decision. So, yeah, I'm going to speak against my motion, so we'll settle this tonight.
I guess my point then was that I wanted to find out, because I do believe we should finish the boat dock before we commit any more funds. And so until we can find out how much more we need for that, then I'm not prepared to say a figure for the chamber tonight. That's just my view.
Okay, where are we at? What was your motion? What was Councillor Holland's motion?
It was basically to defer the request to the April 15th committee for full finance meeting. So you need to...
Further discussion on this motion? Call the question?
Well, the other, what is
Are we
the
ready
next?
for the question or not?
Uh,
More discussion?
Well, the 18th, there is the 18th of March as well.
What's that?
There is the 18th
Oh,
of
yeah,
March
okay.
meeting. Could we have a friendly amend to March 18th? Just to make it really complicated.
Yeah, my concern is that I don't know that, in my mind, that 1 week is going to clear up. I have some fairly large questions and issues around this request, this funding request. It seems a little bit kind of haphazard to me. I haven't seen any budgets, any financial statements, no job description, no grant, no paper, nothing. Just a request for $15,000, and I have a very difficult time with that. And I was hoping to give that much time so we could actually go back, get something from these guys that, like exactly what Councilor Lang was saying. I haven't seen, to me, I'm concerned, would be kind of a mild word, to have that kind of request coming through. I mean, our total funding for that group would be around $20,000 with zero accountability that I can see, zero. And that's concerning me. So I was hoping to give them enough time to actually get something really organized, give us something comprehensive kind of proposal, so we can, because right now we have zero information. There's no way I can make a decision. So if I had to vote on funding them tonight, this thing, I would say no.
Okay.
Well, the motion was to defer it to April 15th,
Yeah.
and we want to change it to April 18th. Is that,
Mark,
as a friendly amendment, is that correct?
And I wasn't agreeing to that.
Right, because I didn't really understand why you, because you
Yeah.
didn't really clarify exactly, but I support what you.
Okay, so is it a friendly amendment or is it April 15th?
No, I don't consider it a friendly amendment. You'd have to do it.
Okay, so it is,
Unfriendly.
so it is April 15th then. Okay, are we clear on the motion then? Call a question, all in favor? Passes. Opposed? Okay. All right. So, Councilor Lang.
Having said all this, are we now asking the chamber to, going to make a formal request to the chamber that they provide us with the information that we seem to be lacking? I mean, it's no good just to sit on it.
Until the 15th, when we still are in the same position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So shall I make a motion to that effect?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that council requests the chamber provide us with some background information on the proposed application, outlining budgetary requirements, duties and responsibilities, that sort of thing. Does that work?
Second, yeah.
Further discussion? Call a question, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Well,
Was there further discussion? I'm sorry.
just to make sure that it goes in the letter what our timeline is, that
Yeah.
to have it by that date.
So, ready for the question?
Well, we've already done it.
Okay.
Yes.
Seeming, let's see, is Wednesday night, is that, yeah, tomorrow night is the chamber meeting, the annual general meeting. So, I mean, would that be something that could be raised at the annual general meeting?
I don't think you're supposed to do that if it's a annual general meeting, right?
No, it's normally not.
No.
It's just basically election of officers.
Okay. All right. So, I think that's it for the fours, is it not?
Yep, I just wanted to remind everybody, Andrew Cohill, the consultant for the Columbia Basin Broadband Corporation, is here for meetings tomorrow and on Thursday. He would like to meet with any members of council available at 4 p.m. tomorrow here for a discussion about the opportunities and risks involved.
And just, any discussion? So he's talked to broadband, right? He's talked to Columbia Basin Broadband. He knows what their position is.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, he's their contracted service provider. Yes.
But he hasn't talked to Ken yet. He wants to know what our
Well,
position is.
he's been talking to both myself and to him for some.
Okay,
but
so all
this is-
parties
These
are-
are the in-person meetings.
Yeah, okay, all right. I'm just wondering what level he's at. So everybody's aware of that meeting? It's at 4 o'clock? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, correspondence, UBCM.
I'll move to receive.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Hewitt, second by Councilor Leithwood. Discussion, call the question. All in favor, opposed? Motion passes. Ripple Creek Elementary. Where the hell is Ripple Creek?
And we'll move to receive that as well.
Moved by Councilor Hewitt, second by Councilor Leithwood. Discussion.
It's great.
Did we send the pins already? Is that?
Yes, we sent a smaller
Oh.
number because our inventory was low at the time. But we did send some to the students.
Old ones or new ones?
It was the older ones.
Okay, I just- All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Nelson Police Camp funding request.
I'll move that we grant a request of $200 to the Nelson Police Camp. Hoping that there's somebody from Castle attending this year. We've funded them for the last several years.
Moved by Councilor Hewitt. Second by Councilor Leithwood. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Oh, did you have discussion?
Does that come out of municipal grant?
Yeah.
Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. BC Senior Games.
Oh. Sorry.
They've got sponsorship levels that start at $100, the next one's $400, and then I think it goes to $1,200.
I'll move that we support the senior games with $100. We have that senior council in the past.
Second.
Second by Council, moved by Councilor Leithwood, second by Councilor Holland. Discussion, call a question, all in favor? Opposed, motion passes. Okay, and communications for information.
I'll move to receive the package.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Holland, second by Councilor Hewitt. Call a question, all in favor? Opposed, motion passes. Let's see, all right, staff report, committee action items.
These items are from our recent committee meetings. There's the two that were brought forward, and also there's a recommendation from myself following the last finance meeting and the discussion about the RDCP funds. I've had a discussion with Brian Carruthers and the Parks Manager. Basically a proposal that we have an interim policy that RDCP funds provided for the Moy Beach and Waterfront Trail regional parks or the village limits to be spent only on capital projects, special projects or consultant services, with any unspent funds annually recorded and committed to the Village of Castle Parks and Recreation Reserve. But that was a perfectly acceptable interim policy for them.
So I'll make a motion to move the first recommendation.
Which one?
Number one.
With a question mark beside
You
it.
just read the last one, is that correct?
Aren't they all action items though?
Yes, there's three.
Okay.
So moved by Councilor Leithwood for item 1, second by Councilor Lang.
So we're moving the village proposes to take additional jurisdictional responsibility.
Yeah. Discussion? Ready for the question? Call the question. All in favor? Okay. Opposed? Motion passes. 2.
With the village join the BC Rural Network at an annual membership fee of $150.
Moved by Councilor Hewitt, second by Councilor Lang. Discussion?
So would this come from municipal grants also, or would it come from?
It would have to come from the, yes, it would have to be municipal grants at this point, but I could find somewhere else for it too. We don't really have a memberships line item at this point in time.
Conferences or something?
Advertising.
Okay.
Further discussion? Call a question? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Now, our DCK funds provided for the Moy Beach and Waterfront Trail, we've discussed it. So do you want a recommendation on that?
That's
Yeah,
the
okay.
recommendation.
That's the recommendation. Is there a mover? Moved by Councilor Lang. Second by Councilor Leithwood. Discussion. Councilor Leithwood.
Where, given that that's what we're doing, where does that leave the $1,600 that we give the SS Moy each year, or the Historical Society for maintaining the beach washrooms? We'll have to create a line item for that. That's a separate issue if we do this, because that is historically where that funding has been coming from, is that $10,000 allotment.
There are some related consultant works that are going to be required in the next little while for both the Moy Beach and the Waterfront Trail. So yes, I would agree that we have to maybe do a switch around. But the geotech work that we actually need done, and 2 of those slots in these 2 areas could likely be used from these funds.
Further discussion?
Well, should we amend the motion then? We just keep,
And it sounds like that was what was acceptable to the regional district, so if we change it, it might not be acceptable.
well, we haven't passed it yet.
No, but that might not be acceptable with them if we go to change it. Because that would be a non-capital item, and it wouldn't be a consultant fee. It doesn't fit that specific criteria. So, that was my comment on that.
But we haven't sent anything to the regional district at this point, right? This is just a recommendation.
No, this is just a discussion I've had with their staff.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, special projects could that not be the, maintaining those washings? That's one of our only public washings in the whole building.
As long as it's a clear, easily accountable item, I think it should be all right.
As a capital expenditure.
What I believe you were discussing at the committee meeting was the need to remove the complexity around trying to work out labour charges to that money.
Right. Okay, so.
Councillor Lane?
Yeah, but further to CEO Smith's comment, if we're gonna spend money on a consultant to do the geotech, doesn't it 6 one, half dozen of the other? Like, we have to find the money to do that, and if we use the RDCK funding, then surely we can come up with the money for the washrooms, for the clouding.
As I understand the CAO, he has said yes, that we can do that.
Okay.
Are we ready for the question? Call a question, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. I think we're on to B here.
Yes, we have a little bit of some recommended bylaw for you tonight. The welfare interface project has been quite badly hampered by late snows and forcing me to review and suggest amendments to the burning bylaw sooner than expected. If you recall, a couple of months ago we did have a discussion with the foreman about the burning bylaws and windows for burning, and his request that they be widened a little. Recent meetings seem to indicate you wanted to explore that. With the operational fuel treatment project actually started now, and the late snows having hampered them significantly, the windows for burning certain fires close this week under the current bylaw. The following bylaw amendments are being proposed. References to the Village of Kaslo VFD are replaced with references to the RDCK Fire Department. Category 2 and 3 fires required by the Village of Kaslo for municipal operations or contracted activities can be started at any time when the venting index is favourable and the forest fire threat level is low. And thirdly, the windows for permitted burning by the public for category 2 and 3 fires are widened by a number of weeks, as I've shown in the bylaw. If given 3 readings tonight and adopted on March 25th, inconvenience to the fuel treatment project should be minimal, and we are on a fairly tight budget with this. The public will have some additional time for category 2 and 3 fires this winter or spring. And I don't know if that's an important consideration or not, but my apologies for the short notice of putting this forward.
Well, I'm hoping council will support this, because the problem with the bylaw in the past was that you can have long periods of time when you can't get the venting index. So I think the bylaw, the sense was that any time during that period you could burn, regardless of the venting index. And I just don't think that the other 2 provisos in there, if it was a strange year and the fire hazard went up, then you can't burn. So I think the bylaw covers the situation and creates a little more flexibility, both for Glen in other areas and for the public.
I'll move to receive the staff report.
I'll second.
So now, do we gonna read it a first time, a second?
No,
time?
it's later.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. And the Council on District Community Forest Society report.
I'll move to receive that.
Moved by Councilor Hewitt to receive. Second by Councilor Leafwood. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. And the RDCK's Director's Report.
Yeah, a couple meetings. One was the Regional District Special Budget meeting, and I sent you guys notes on that meeting. I don't have much to comment on about that. Also attended the Healthy Communities workshop in Castlegar, and I sent you guys reports on that, and I'm asking that Council refer my report along with the printed materials to the Healthcare Committee for their information. And the nut of it that kind of came out of it really is the province is investing resources and educational efforts into trying to help local governments in their planning and laying out infrastructure, understand that building a healthy community involves social, economic, environmental, all these other things. And they're hoping to start combating the rising healthcare costs by getting more proactive. And one of the ways that they think to get proactive and make people healthier is as we start designing our communities, that we design our communities to encourage healthy behavior. And they're saying that that's a critical part now of trying to address, or one of the critical parts of addressing runaway healthcare costs. So some good stuff in there. So we've got all the stuff in our RCP, we've got it in our RCSPs. We started to do a regional growth strategy when I was mayor. I don't know if that ever got finished or not. A regional growth strategy is another document that you might want to get revised at some point, and that also incorporates factors around the healthy communities. And it dovetails right into what we heard tonight from our Community Service Society is all this stuff. So anyway, that's it. So if I can make a recommendation that I sent the report from the email to you by email, Neil, along with my report, if that could be forwarded to the health committee, that'd be great. Thanks.
Does that have to be a motion or just direction to
No,
verbal reports. Councilor.
Don't think I have any. Just that the arena is closing next week. It's been a slow year with no less kids playing hockey, and the power has gone up significantly. But operating pretty smoothly. We had the grants from the government we got a couple of years ago that really helped. Just done a lot of work at the arena in the last couple of years. So it looks good. Just need more people playing hockey. We should have like a council challenge hockey game or something.
My days are strapping on the blades as well behind me now, I'm sorry.
Councilor
Yeah.
No, I have nothing to report.
Councilor Holland.
No.
Councilor Hewitt. Okay, well, I got a few things. I went to the Healthy Community meetings as well and met a very interesting person from Interior Health based out of Cranbrook who is involved in the BC Rural Network initiative. They may fund the initiative. They also want to participate and be able to advise, it's not just for Caswell, but for rural BC, their program of looking at your OCP, looking at your ICSP in terms of budgeting for improving walkability, improving access. So it was quite an interesting. He was, Caswell's getting quite a reputation, some good, some not so good. But anyway, he was very impressed with the issues around where Caswell's at with their. Plus, we passed that resolution that Kerry Wall brought forward. If you remember that, that was to our favor. Then BC Rural Network had a conference call today with those folks up there associated with the Fraser Basin. That's where their office is. And so we've reached the point where we now have our workshops planned, and they're looking at those workshops, and most of them were approved by, there's 15 of them at the moment. And there's a schedule, and there's some issues around, you know, how, what the schedule will look like for the 3 days that people are here, and that's a bit of a challenge because we're trying to combine party time with workshop time. Interface Fire, just I've been up there both days, you know, nice to see the power saws running, people are working, they're happy, and they're making some progress. The issue of smoke is something that is emerging, so, you know, this bylaw gets important. Then on the fire hall, Jim, was there a meeting on the fire hall? Just
budget
brief us on that.
Yeah, it was, Terry just came out and presented the subcontractors in the next phase, but we were asked not to disclose any of these until the formal announcement was made. So it's on budget, it's on track. Time, everything is going well.
Okay. And then the Caswell District Community Forest Society, my understanding is they're going to have this workshop, I don't know if it's on April 4th or April 5th, similar to the one that was held in the Cusp to talk about timber supply and opportunities that processing logs locally versus shipping them out of the area, you know, what those options look like. So I haven't seen the agenda, but that's ongoing. So that's it. No, I lost my, back on track here. Go ahead.
There were 2 travel requests under Bearable.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was asking council, the Community Futures is having a community economic development forum, and the focus is on broadband technology and how it can be leveraged as a tool to drive community economic development. So I wanted to attend that. That was on May the 28th in Nelson, BC. So I was asking council for expenses to attend that meeting, or attend that forum.
I'll move that.
Moved by Councilor Leafwood, second by Councilor Hewitt. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Motion passes. So, was it really necessary to get permission from council to go to that? Because you got your $3,500. You were going to run out of money if you went to that, or? I mean, you have access to.
I think about $3,500.
But we haven't passed the budget yet.
Oh, you haven't passed the budget yet. Okay, I'm just wondering. I mean, I encourage council to go to these things, and
Well, we can't claim expenses if we don't, you gotta ask in advance, is the policy.
well, once the budget passes, you won't though.
No,
Do you?
that's in the procedures bylaw, you have to ask.
Okay, I'll check the procedures. Maybe we're gonna make some changes there.
Well, it's not the procedures bylaw, it's the expense reimbursement policy.
Policy, okay, good.
No, I don't think we should I don't think councilors should just be out at their own whims to go off. I think because if it's village business, you have to inform council in advance. We all have to agree it's a benefit. I might decide that going to the Kaslo or Vancouver Jazz Festival is a benefit to the community. You may want to go do it. You may not agree with that. So I think we have to ask advance permission from council to get approval for expenses, do things like that. We shouldn't be just running off and doing it.
All right. That's it. On to 8.
Councilor, yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Mayor Lay asked me to attend this meeting in his absence. He's not available for it, and I agreed to it. And it's in Castlegar?
Yeah, near center.
I'll go to the meeting. I may not require any reimbursement, but I'll say that I'm going to put in for some gas money at this point. If it turns out I don't require it, I won't.
What is the meeting?
West Kootenai Economic Development.
Who's doing that?
What's that?
Who's doing that?
Who's doing it?
Yeah.
Who's their sponsor?
Yeah, Mayor of Kaslo, Nelson, Selkirk College, Chamber of Commerce's. It's called the West Kootenai. I gave Rob the minutes there. Neil was trying to go to, like, he was trying to get to it as well. You know, because they're looking at economic development in the region and working together and collaborating on projects. And I think it's quarterly meetings, and I've been going to them, but I haven't been charging.
Is that the group that's doing the signing initiative for the cusp and this?
No, it's not the branding exercise.
That is the West Kootenai Economic Development Committee, isn't it?
No.
The one that's doing the branding, no?
No, it's different.
I'll move for discussion.
Move for discussion.
Second.
Are you part of the steps committee?
Yes.
Okay. So when these kind of things come up that are like economic development, is the steps committee made aware of these things before? So, I mean, I think it'd be good if anybody is attending any kind of economic development, it should be done to the steps committee.
That makes sense.
Councilman.
Well, I mean, you can attend any meeting you want if you're paying your way, right? That's the whole criteria. It's
Sure,
only when you
but-
come asking for money that you should work through the channels. So that I don't have a problem with what you're saying. I think that it would make a whole lot of sense for me to have a report for SEDS after attending this meeting. And I guess it can come here as well. Whatever you like.
So on the request, any further discussion? Was there a mover and a seconder? Call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, bylaw 1150.
I'll move reading first time by content for discussion.
Second.
I'm just wondering if this is just going to be attached as part of the main bylaw, because this isn't the entire bylaw.
No, it's basically changing about 3 provisions in the existing bylaw, and if it's adopted, staff will provide a consolidated bylaw for the public.
Oh, okay, so it'll all become one. It won't be, you'll have to look at this bylaw for most of it and then this other piece.
No, we basically, with this approach, you basically edit the original and you provide a consolidated one for the public to understand.
Okay, good.
Further discussion? Call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
I'll move reading of bylaw 1150 for a second time by title, or second and third time by title.
Second.
Call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. That's it, right? We can keep doing fuel management. Anything under new business? I don't have anything in my, no, okay. And accounts payable.
I'll move accounts payable in the amount of $45,508.77.
Moved by Councilor Eastwood, second by Councilor Hewitt. Discussion, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. And the financial report.
I'll move receipt of the January 2014 financial report.
Moved by Councilor Eastwood, second by Councilor Holland. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Motion passes.
I'll move to adjourn.
Councilor Eastwood, motion to adjourn. All in favor? Motion passes. Very good.